first.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a really good list for you guys tonight. Or I do anyway. I got a great list for you tonight. And there are a lot of things to discuss about the 60s. A lot of different musical influences were happening, like you mentioned before. You had the 50s part two.
Yeah.
You had the Beatles, you had the British Invasion, you had Motown, you had folk, you had psychedelia, you had, I guess what I could only explain or maybe call the beginning of modern rock was happening there.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Led Zeppelin was 69, if that gives you any perspective.
Yeah.
We kicked off the decade with the Twist, and
yeah, what a change from
right. A lot happened.
Well, let's jump into it. Is your document all up? And
yeah, it's up and running.
That sounds.
And I just want to qualify something before we get into any of our lists. These are songs that I feel like work well, as you say, demographically for my area. Dance floor 1960s. They all have a few things in common. They appeal to a wide range of people. Like I mentioned in the 50s show, I don't think I'm doing my job if I'm playing a song that's only going to be something that somebody who really loves the 60s is going to enjoy, but no one else is going to enjoy. They appeal to a wide variety of people and demographic. The other thing is they're danceable.
Yep.
There's a lot of great music from the 60s. And I've got a list that I'll talk about maybe later on the show of music that I just dig from the 60s, but I don't particularly play as a DJ. So if your favorite song isn't on this list, it's not because I don't like it, or is it because I don't think it's important? It's simply because it's just not working for my dance floors. Or maybe it does, and it's just not on my top list.
Yep.
How many do you have, John, on your list?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Roughly.
I probably have like 45.
Wow.
Yeah, but this was. I mean, this is a. I'll start with my first one. Of that, there's 3 songs and really 2 songs that I play from the Beach Boys.
Sure.
Beach Boys have been a popular. We've got the 1963 Surfin' USA, and then Barbara Ann coming out in '65. Of the 2, I play Barbara Ann probably twice to every one time I play Surfin' USA. Again, depending upon the crowd. So in this particular case, I actually have 3 of them on the list. Beach Boys Fun was a very hot one early on. Like last week we talked Rockin' Robin, where it was this thing that the kids got into. Fun kind of fits that same thing because people can
absolutely does.
A little bebop and it can sing, but I probably haven't played that in 10 years. But it still was on that list, so I included it so you guys will see it tomorrow.
What's really interesting about the Beach Boys, a lot of people may not realize this, but they were so influential. I mean, they had all that stuff, fun, Surfing USA. Then they came out with the album Pet Sounds. And that's what Good Vibrations was on. And this was the stuff that the Beatles were like, oh, wow, we need to start doing stuff like this. So they did like Sgt. Pepper in response to Pet Sounds. But that was super influential stuff. Brian Wilson is a genius.
Yeah.
And he did things that no one had done before. And as a mobile DJ, I don't know, go buy the Endless Summer album if you don't already have it, because you're going to need something off of it sometime in your career. And I don't know, it won't be too long before you'll have played it all for one reason or another.
Very much so. That's actually on my list of vinyl to buy or try to find.
Yes.
Is that particular one, because I grew up with that one. My dad had it, and
everybody had it.
Yep, it's a great one.
They all had long hair in it and beards and stuff. It was more of a 70s look. It looked like they were in the jungle or something. They all kind of looked alike. It was a painting, but that's definitely one you're going to want to have in your collection. So good first song.
Yeah. Great
first song.
So yeah, what do you got?
Okay, my first tune, and these are in no particular order, by the way.
Yeah.
Louie Louie by the Kingsmen. This was kind of the frat rock thing. This is 1963. So it's not really a 50s song, but when people say, play me some 50s and 60s music, this is the kind of stuff I think of. I could play this right behind, Little Richard song, or right behind a Bill Haley and the Comet song. That would be perfectly acceptable. So yeah, that's on my number 29. Louie Louie, the Kingsmen, 1963.
Yep, I had that one on the list also.
We're going to repeat a lot in this one.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why having as many as we do, we won't have as much.
Right, you got to have a big list just in case.
I'm gonna jump down a little bit, kind of building off one we talked about last week with the Twist. Is in 1962, Chubby Checker came out with Limbo Rock, and as DJs, this is a must. You've got to have this because there's going to be that time at that wedding where you've got that family who every wedding we do a limbo, and there's family members who have been working out, stretching, and contorting their body to be ready for this wedding day because they know that this is a family tradition. So you've got to make sure you've got limbo rock in your.
No, I don't have it on my list. You got one I don't have. So yeah, good one. And I don't do it a lot, but when you do it, you do it. And it's not like somebody remade it and you're going to want to play that one. No, you're going to do limbo.
Yeah.
You hear it. It's a great one for elementary schools. As a DJ starting out back 1,000 years ago at skating rinks, that was the thing that you played every week. You had to learn those sometime during the skating session. Well, the early sessions you did.
Yeah.
So yeah, great one. Good song there, Sean. Good call. Get it in your collection. Limbo Rock, Chevy Checker.
So what do you got next?
Ooh, what do we got next? Wooly Bully, Sam the Sham. Another one of those frat rock tunes. And a little bit interesting trivia about this song. Sam the Sham was actually a Mexican group of Mexican Americans, I guess I should say. They all changed their names to sound more white, but this was a Latino track. Not many people know that, but it definitely was. So that was from 1965, more frat rock stuff. So that's Sam the Sham, Wooly Bully.
Good track. You got a lot of play out of that one. I'm going to go with the sing-along next. My sing-along is from The Tokens, with The Lion Sleeps Tonight out of 1961.
Man, you got some good ones on your list.
This one is that I've just worked them hard in a 50-60 set. Again, an older crowd, you can't work them too hard. And now I can kind of come out of that with a sing-along, and they're out there dancing, and they can change the pace just a little bit, so they're not dancing as much, but they can sing along, and it's kind of recovery songs before I go into the next thing.
That's cool. I
very,
like
very, very, very.
What year was that
strong.
one, John?
1961.
Wow, good tune. That almost goes with like what we were talking about last week with the Banana Boat song.
Yeah, for sure.
The same vibe. You could go back to back on those late in the evening, and that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, very much so.
Nice one, bro.
Good stuff. Okay, what do you got next for us?
Okay, more stuff. This could be considered frat rock stuff as well. But Land of a Thousand Dances by Wilson Pickett. That one is 1966, and that goes right with Wooly Bully. That goes right with Louie Louie. That's got a lot of personality. People know the tune. It's been remade several times. I think Jay Giles' band remade it, and a couple others. But I like doing the original. It's just got a real nice sound to it. So that's Land of a Thousand Dances by Wilson Pickett.
And that's one I didn't have on the list.
It's going to happen. That's what makes it interesting.
That's what's kind of cool. This is one we talked about a little bit last week, and we kind of, it's a slow song. We touched on it because it had a big influence in 1955. We're talking the Unchained Melody, the song.
Sure.
But it really became kind of I think more commonplace in what was it, 1960? Oh, when did they 65? Yeah, 10 years later. Because in 1955, this Unchained Melody was a hit for Les Baxter, Jimmy Young, Roy Hamilton, and Al Hibbler.
Right.
Depending upon which charts, all four versions hit the top of a chart, one of the music charts.
Sure.
And then, of course, the Righteous Brothers became our
popular version.
Yeah, the popular version that we use today. So I just found that kind of interesting. We talked about it a little bit. I dug into it a little more, and it's like, goodness gracious. It hit the charts. I mean, it was big in the, some versions were big in the some U.S. charts and the U.K. charts. Some were the Australian charts and the U.K. charts. It's just interesting, the dynamics of that song.
Now, what makes that song even more fun is that it really didn't have a big resurgence until You Lost That Loving Feeling was the Righteous Brothers song. That's the one you thought of.
Yep.
But it was introduced to a whole new generation of people when Ghost came out.
Yes.
In the late 80s. The Pottery Wheel scene, they were playing Unchained Melody, and they've made spoofs on this and everything else. But since then, it's just become a staple. So that sometimes those movies bring songs, back from obscurity, and that one definitely did, and it's still around. And that was, that movie was almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
And it still had influence in pop culture, modern pop culture. So.
Okay, what's your next one?
Crazy by Patsy Cline.
61.
Now, this song was written by Willie Nelson in the 1950s. He was a songwriter. That's what he did. And then later on, he started doing his own stuff. But this is probably Patsy's most famous recording. Walking After Midnight's another good one to have. If you want to, grab some Patsy Cline for your library, that's the other big one.
Yeah.
But Crazy, I play about at every wedding because it's got a mass appeal. It's country, it's oldies, it's slow. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a real good song to have in your library.
Interesting. I play Patsy Cline at other events, but I don't think I've ever played Crazy at a wedding.
You should.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean, it works.
Everybody comes out for it. Sometimes I'll do like really early in the evening. I'll do it, and it works real well. So
yeah,
before the old people go home, they appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a great song.
Knows it. It's about appealing to that wide audience.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I don't know why I never put two and two together and played it there, because I played it for anniversaries or
sure,
but not there.
Nice song,
buddy. Yeah, there's so much. No. Okay, my next one is from the Foundations. Build Me Up Buttercup was a late 60s, 1968.
Yes.
It had an appeal then, but I think it really came into our arena where it really became a popular one. From 98 was when Something About Mary came out?
Yes.
And then it popped. It popped. It was hot at shows, and I basically went, there were weddings that I played that song twice.
Right.
In the late 90s, early 2000s. Crazy.
You know what? I still play that song to this day. And what I find interesting about that song is there's an intro to it. Dun, 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 dun. Most people don't know the intro. So they're kind of looking at each other like, what is he playing?
Yep.
Then as soon as the guy, what do you? Then they start, that one.
Oh, I love this song.
Right.
It was in that movie.
The intro's unfamiliar to them. So once you get past that intro, even if they're starting to walk off the dance floor, as soon as they hear, what? They come back and start dancing again. So yeah, good one. Good.
Okay, what do you got?
Heard It Through the Grapevine.
Ooh.
Marvin Gaye, 1968. This is a song that's always been popular, but it really popped, I guess, in the 1980s with the whole California Raisins commercial.
I was going to say, I can't hear that song without imagining those little purple
little raisins, right? And it became like a dance. There was a little thing they did to the California Raisin dance. They still do it sometimes, and it was popular with kids because they like the raisin cartoons.
Oh yeah,
and
good.
I think it's hung on because of that. So you can still get away with that one once in a while. That is a Motown song, by the way.
Yes.
So that counts as Motown.
My next song is the song "Blue Moon" from the Marcells. Now, this is going to go back to last week a little bit when we talked about the group Sha Na Na.
Mm-hmm.
Sha Na Na, of course, did covers. That's what they did.
They were Grease. They were the people who did most of the music in Grease that Barry Gibb didn't do.
Yeah, they did the other four songs.
Right.
But the version that I would play is Sha Na Na's version of it. When people, because you had mentioned how sometimes with I played the older version of Rockin' Robin, and you played Michael Jackson's version.
Right.
I really enjoyed the Sha Na Na version much more, so I would play that. But boy, early in my DJ career, though, that was Blue Moon was just a really good song that people really kind of would sing in, get into. So it was a good song for me.
Yeah, it's kind of a slow one. I suppose you could go either way with it, but I would consider it like more of a slow dance type of song. Well, it depends. I guess. Well, no, you're right.
It's
a
little. Yep.
Yeah, I can't stand anything where they do that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like a pet peeve of mine. If they're going, I tune right out.
See, and I think probably the reason it was popular in our area is Sha Na Na actually toured through the area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, State Fair or whatever. Yeah.
They would come out and they actually played a few of the ballrooms out here. So when I started DJing, I could mention the name Bowser and people knew exactly who I was talking about, even without the show.
That does make sense. Yeah.
So that was good. Okay, what's next?
It's Not Unusual by Tom Jones.
Ooh.
1965. This is, I could have sworn as a younger man that this was a 70s song because it has that vibe. And that same vibe with the horns and such in the lounge singing did go into the early 70s, but it is actually 1965.
Mm-hmm.
And the song got big with the TV show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Carlton doing the dance.
And it's still today.
And they still do it.
The kids will request it. Can you play it? So
big joke.
I played it
and it's a very short song. I think it's under 2 minutes long.
Oh, and even at 2 minutes long, you try to go to really the part that Carlton did his, just so they can go do it long enough to, okay, they've done it, out.
Oh, I do the whole tune. I do the whole tune. I have a few rules as a DJ. Maybe I'll talk about another time. But one of the rules is you hear that whole song. It's fun. It's happy.
Oh, it is. It's a good song.
In, Mars Attacks, which is a kind of Tim Burton film.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Jones was in that film. So it's turned up in pulp culture within the last 25 years.
Sure.
Being a song that's 40 now or 50, 51 now. It's still relevant. So cool. That's my tune right there.
Cool.
My tune 4 spot.
Let's see. I wanted to come down to. I'm going to go to this one. This isn't a fast one. It would be kind of a slower one, but it's more, I would consider it kind of that late in the night. I've just danced them hard and I need something for them to catch their breath. And sure. This is Sonny and Cher with I Got You Babe from 1965.
That's a cool one right there. That's a nice call. I don't have it on my list, but I think it's a great idea to have that tune.
Yeah, it's something that the refrain, it's an easy sing-along song. It has Sonny Bono singing. I mean, let's face it, there aren't many crooners that are better than Sonny Bono. But it was it's that kind of and I've heard people talk about this. We even talked about this in the last show. Sometimes it's kind of cool to surprise people a little bit on a dance floor.
It is.
This is one of those songs.
Oh, I remember that. Wow, where'd that come from?
Oh yeah. And then he sings. The husband is like, yeah, I remember that. And he's singing along and he's impressing his lady friend, and life is good.
No, nice choice. It only took me 20 minutes to get my camera angle right. I think it's finally right.
Yeah, you look good.
I like this one. I wish I could zoom on here, but I can't zoom. It's my turn.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, number 23 in my list is Proud Mary from Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh.
It's 1969.
Okay.
And Creedence Clearwater Revival, it's weird because you can either do Proud Mary by CCR or you can do the 70s remake with Ike and Tina Turner. Both are popular. I think most people actually know the CCR version more than they know the Ike and Tina version, but you can do both. But that's just one CCR song you can play. Again, one of those artists you can just probably just go out and get the greatest hits. It's not a bad thing to have around. But I didn't want to do too many repeats on my list of artists, so I was trying to just pick the big ones from each one, and that's my pick for CCR.
Great song. Great song. I've got CCR is one that I fit that more into my 70s because I follow that up and tied in with like Three Dog Night, some early Stones. Kind of tie those into that.
Rolling on the River. When I was a little kid, I thought it was Roland on the River. I didn't know who Roland was, but he was on the river.
Why is he on the river?
Why is Roland on the river?
Let's see. I'm gonna go to 1964 with this one from Manfred Mann with Doo-Wah Diddy.
Wow, nice.
Doo-Wah Diddy is one of those songs, Brian, you mentioned a little bit earlier with Build Me Up Buttercup, where it has that intro. Doo-Wah Diddy also has that intro. I've cut that intro right off, so it starts out with the...
There she was. Yeah.
And it starts hot. And that is probably one of the coolest songs because I can use this, doing it that way. I can use it at high schools. I can use it I can use it pretty much everywhere. And I can come out of something where they've been dancing hard and then bring that, there she was on top or, way over the top of it. And the crowd just goes crazy. And
I like that.
Works it younger and older. So it's been, there's not many oldies songs that are still really heavily in my playlist, but that's definitely one.
Right. I haven't played in a long time, but that's a really good one. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
Speaking of good, I Feel Good. James Brown, 1964.
A classic.
Now, James Brown is the guy I wanted to take a minute and talk about. There are a lot of really good James Brown songs.
Yep.
And I mentioned last week that typically I do not like music that was recorded before I was born. Some of the James Brown music are exceptions to that rule because there's a lot of James Brown stuff that I do really like.
Yeah.
I Feel Good is like the one James Brown song you should have. If you're only going to have one, again, you should probably just go buy the greatest hits.
Yep.
There's a lot of tunes out there. There's a lot of James Brown songs that people are going to want to hear throughout, just a one time or another. The ones I like, I hardly ever get to play. Like It's a Man's World. I love that tune.
Mm-hmm.
And I only played it a few times as a mobile guy, but I love the track. Sex Machine, which is a little later, but that's a really good one. So yeah, I feel good. James Brown. What year is it? 1964.
Now I have Sex Machine in my head.
Get on up. And James Brown was used in hip hop like massively between James Brown and George Clinton. That's hip hop right there. That's all the breaks and beats. And incidentally, a lot of that stuff was Bootsy Collins on bass. He came later on in for James Brown though. But at any rate, this is going to appeal to your younger audience too because of that. It's got a familiar vibe to it. They like those breaks, those cool, horn stabs. Even like Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. It's like that too. A lot of good James Brown.
Oh, just very talented, and he influenced a lot of artists. And now we're going to see Brian playing some James Brown.
Yeah, really.
Sorry. You're a little high there. You have to tip it down if you can.
I'm working on it.
You'll get there.
I'm getting there.
Okay, my next one. I'm going to go with kind of a novelty song from 1964 from Bobby Pickett. This song is Monster Mash.
Ooh.
Not something that's a dance floor filler or dance floor, but it's that time of the year. It's a Halloween song, and I don't think there has been a Halloween event in all of my years that I haven't played that song by request from someone.
Right. No, it's a good one. It's a really good one. And again, like you say, it's seasonal, but every year it comes around. And I know it's been remade 1,000 times. I know it has, but you want that original.
The original. This is one that the original is definitely the one that a person's got to go with.
Right.
Yeah. What do you got next?
Oh, my. Let's see. Pretty Woman, Roy Orbison.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's 1965. Again, song that's been remade a lot. Van Halen remade it, I know.
Yes.
Several others did. And it's been hot throughout my lifetime. But where the Roy Orbison version came back real heavy was when Pretty Woman came out with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, which was her breakout role. And She's America's Sweetheart, all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, tune. People know it.
Exactly.
And my generation, or our generation, I should say, is familiar with it because of the movie Pretty Woman, I think.
For sure.
And the older generation knows it too. And yeah, the kids have been hearing it all their lives. So yeah, good tune.
It's got a great pick. It's a great crossover that it covers those areas. The question I have for you, Brian, is yes. until that Pretty Woman soundtrack came out, I did not have a version of Pretty Woman. I had a couple of different ones. I didn't like those versions. They didn't sound the same. It's like the one that they put on that album just had it was like a different mix of the song.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that happens a lot with these older recordings. If you listen to the Motown stuff, it doesn't sound brilliant. I mean, most of it sounds awful, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But, sonically, it doesn't sound very good. Or a lot of that stuff, like if you look at like Aretha Franklin did Respect. I'll talk about that later in my list. But at any rate, that song is like the worst recording. It sounds like somebody recorded it, on like a like something they take like a voice memo on. It doesn't sound very good. So I think when you get those remastered tracks like that, it's nice.
Yeah, that definitely was. That was a great one of my great movie albums that I really enjoyed getting. And the other one would have been Wayne's World, but that's for our 80s discussion. So
yeah, Fame 90 was on that, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was
Remake of Fame.
There was quite a few things.
Wishful Thinking. I can't remember who did that tune. Who did that one?
When in Rome.
Yeah, no. It'll come to me. They did something else.
King of Wishes. Yeah.
Go West.
Go West. There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Got sidetracked.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 64. Frankie Valli. Big Girls Don't Cry.
Ooh.
Frankie Valli became when the movie Jersey Boys came out. It was interesting that the request for Frankie Valli music came back, and it was really actually very strong for about 2 years there when that came out. Big Girls Don't Cry was something that I had played off and on. It was probably I categorize my songs as kind of the A that work everywhere, the B songs that work. If you've got that crowd that's really enjoy, they'll really get into it, and then your C that you play once in a while if you're desperate.
Right.
And Frankie Valli's Big Girls was in that B category, and it would go well. So it was it was one that I wanted to make sure I mentioned because, again, of that Jersey Boy really brought it back.
Yeah. It's all about pop culture.
Yeah,
Pay attention to that and you know what's going on. So I guess it's my turn again.
Yeah, but you are up next.
Do You Love Me, Contours, 1962.
Oh, yes.
Now, that is a Motown song. A lot of people don't know that. That was recorded at Hitsville, USA. It was on the Motown label. And, you know, Dirty Dancing really brought that song back for a lot of people. Speaking to Patrick Swayze movies from the 80s. And since then, it just hasn't gone away. Now, a lot of songs were in that movie, but that one stuck, I think, more than any of the other ones.
Yep.
Besides the Jennifer Lawrence duet, Time of My Life. Other than that, that's the tune you think about. So you can still play it, you can still get away with it. People still like it. And they know the intro. It's got that weird break at the end where it fades out, then it jumps back in. Good tune. So there you have it.
Great song. Great song.
Yeah.
That was actually,
Love Me, 1962.
And that was actually on my list also, not only for the Contours, but it was also redone in 1965 by Dave Clark 5. They did a version of that. And their version.
You don't play the Dave Clark 5 version.
Actually, the irony is in this area, Dave Clark 5 was actually very popular.
Are they like from there or something?
No, I don't think so. I think they were a British. I think they're a UK band.
No, they're not. They can't.
Aren't they?
Oh, yeah, they are. They are. Yes,
I think they are. I really think they are. But they were. It was an unusual thing. Tommy James and the Shondells was huge here, and Dave Clark 5 were really huge here. So anyway, so I had a couple of versions of that: the 1987 version and the 62 and the 65.
Sweet, nice.
Okay. One that's kind of and I think we talked about this, and it was, from me, I had it categories more, this is 60s, the Diamonds of the Stroll, which really came out in 1959, but it was really into that kind of the 60s is where I put it more, because it was one of those songs that the crowd, the right crowds, they really liked it. So I wanted to add that to my list in the 60s arena.
Right. No, good one. That's a good song to have. I would put it more in the 50s myself too, but again, it's that 50s and 60s.
Right. Yep. So it's
weird
that gray area for us here. Yeah.
Place, era, perhaps.
Yeah.
So okay. Let's see, what do I got here? Let's see, where was I? Ring of Fire, Johnny Cash.
Oh, nice.
1963. Now this song popped up on my radar. I don't know. Geez, it must have been around the time he died. And then it went nuts when the movie came out with Johann Phoenix. That's how you say his name, right?
I think so.
Johann.
I think so.
It's a weird spot. I think it's called. I think it's. I don't know. Anyway, but that movie, you know the movie, and then that goes along with a lot of Johnny Cash tunes you should probably have. Folsom Prison Blues is one of them. Jackson is another one. But I think if you're just going to have one that people are going to ask for, even college students and hipsters, not just the old folks who like country, they'll enjoy it too. But your hipsters and stuff are going to love Ring of Fire. Johnny Cash is kind of like, oh boy, how would I describe Johnny Cash?
The Man in Black. I mean, how could you?
Well, he's the Man in Black, but he's like a Jim Morrison. He's like a Morrissey if you're into alternative music. Yeah. He's just certain groups of people, and it's a weird group. It's not just one group. Like several groups of people identify with Johnny Cash for some reason. So wide appeal with an audience.
Cool. I'll have that requested at proms. I'll have that requested at weddings. I mean, that is just an incredible crossover song. I mean, I don't even know how I managed to not have it on my list.
Well, it was kind of a gangster when you think about it. I mean, he had his problems and whatever.
Oh,
he wasn't just this neat and clean guy. He was a little rough and a little cool and a little different. So I think people identify with him.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
What do you got?
Next one, Joey D with Peppermint Twist from 1962.
Wow, I haven't played that in years.
Peppermint Twist I would put that into the same category as Rockin' Robin,
Yes.
Round and round up and down, round and round up. 1, 2, 3.
You frat rock with that. Yeah. That's a really good tune. I haven't played it forever, but it's a really good tune.
And people get into it. It's that upbeat, that high energy, and it's about that long. So when you're trying to fill that hour with 40 songs, this is one of those 40.
Yes. kind of what they would call maybe bubblegum music back then.
Exactly. But and that one, when we first started playing, I didn't. This wasn't in my playlist, but I had a gentleman that came up and he would see me in the bar when we were doing a bar inconsistent, and he asked for it like 4 times in a row. And it's like, fine, I'm going to go out and find it. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't even, I wasn't even putting 2 and 2 together that was that song, and it became such a staple. Yeah, just incredible. Pretty cool stuff.
Nice song. That's a really, really good one. I like that one too. I'm gonna do more Motown for you for my next pick.
Good.
My Girl by the Temptations.
Oh,
there's a lot of Motown songs out there that if you have a Motown crowd, they're going to really like. But then there are, again, those mass appeal songs. I think My Girl by the Temptations is one of those songs that you're gonna appeal to that wide variety with.
What a great song. Great pick there.
No, more Motown for you. And what do you okay, you're gonna see my Temptations and raise me what?
Well, I want to go, you had kind of a slow, so I'm going to stay with the slow one. But I'm going to go with one that really was popular when it came out in 1967, but it came back with Good Morning Vietnam. Really brought it back, and that was Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong.
Sweet. And I play that at every wedding.
Every wedding it goes over. It's got that wide appeal. It's a beautiful song. It's got a great message. It's really, this is an A song when it comes to the list of songs that are going to work almost everywhere. That is definitely an A song.
I think that also popped up in Sleepless in Seattle. So, it came out in a few different films. That song has such a wide appeal to it that I kind of have a weird rule at a wedding. I mean, if something is, if it works, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
Yep.
I'll do the first dance of the night for our bride and groom. My second song is What a Wonderful World, just as a rule, unless they've asked for that song for something else.
Something special. Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, it just gets played regardless.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good song. Everyone knows it. It fills the floor. It's a great song, and it's short. So by the time they get out there, I'm already on to Happy by Pharrell or something. But, because it's like just over 2 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, great song. Definitely, it's on the really high up on my list actually. So nice call on that one.
Yeah.
And I got another slow one, and this one I don't know where the song came from all of a sudden. It was probably about 15 years ago. I must not have seen that movie, but this song all of a sudden came out of obscurity for me anyway. At Last, Etta James.
Oh, yeah.
Which is 1961. I don't play it all the time, but if somebody asks for it, if you don't have it, they will probably hurt you because they really want to hear it.
Oh, for sure.
It's jazzy. It's a cool song. It's just a cool song with a lot of personality. Not something that I love personally, but it is a cool song with a lot of personality, and I understand why people do like it. And a lot of young couples, a lot of the hipsters dig it too. It's not just the older folks. It's actually more the younger people who ask for it.
Oh, for sure.
20s, 30s, and I don't know what movie it was in or TV show it was in. Probably something I never watched, like Gilmore Girls or something. I don't know.
I don't remember because we had that discussion when it came out, and it was all of a sudden in every wedding for a while.
Right.
And it's like, what? And no one really could pinpoint what it was.
Yeah, you got the chat open, right?
Yeah, chat. Yeah.
So if anybody knows, let us know where the hell this song came from. I mean, obviously 1961, but why the resurgence? What was it, 10, 15 years ago? It was just right there. Does anybody know what triggered that in pop culture? Because I don't.
Yeah.
But it's there. So, and people like it, so have it in your arsenal. And that's one I had to go get. They started asking for it. All of a sudden, like, crap, I got to get this tune. So I did. And it's part of, it's a staple now.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't just play it to play it. I play it when they ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It may not work at every wedding, but if they ask for it, I play it.
So Tara said it was on Northern Exposure.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
That could be, yeah, because that would have been about that time when it started.
What a weirdo. David Lynch. I think that was him, wasn't
it? I think so. So Tara wins a gold star tonight so far.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
My next one is, there's 2 versions. I like playing both versions. It's Dion from 1961 with The Wanderer.
Nice.
Then the one that I almost have kind of more of an inkling to play is from 1988 with Eddie Rabbitt.
Didn't Leif Garrett do that song too?
Oh, there's been a few.
But yeah, Eddie Rabbitt did it. Yeah, he did it.
But Eddie Rabbitt did it, and it's just it just had, and part of it was probably, as we were talking earlier about the sound quality just being better, that probably made it. But I just, there've been times where I played the Eddie Rabbitt version, and I've had people like, I love this version, and they're like, Dion did so good on this one.
Right.
Okay, yeah, sure, he did.
Sure. Yeah, whatever. I mean, and I do that a lot, and this is a theme throughout our broadcast when we talk about this. What version do you play? Or whatever version works the best.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not always about the version that sounds the best. It's the version that gets the best reaction. And sometimes that older one does. Sometimes the remake is definitely the way to go. And there's a lot of tunes that I think we play all the time. We don't know that they're remakes.
Yeah.
And then you go back and say, whoa, wait a minute, it's a remake? Somebody did that, 30 years earlier or whatever?
Yeah.
All the time. So my next tune is another slow one. God, this is real slow I'm doing right now. Stand By Me by Benny King, 1961. Song's always been cool. Don Williams did that song, I think, for the Urban Cowboy soundtrack.
There we go.
And that's when it came on my radar. I lived in Oklahoma at the time.
Yeah, that would have been on your radar then.
Yeah. But then when the movie Stand By Me came out, which is an interesting film, it's based on a Stephen King short story. The title track of the movie obviously is named after it. Then all of a sudden it was all about that version of the song. So that's the one you played. So that's Stand By Me, Ben E. King, 1961.
Cool. We talked about Shout last week.
Yeah.
We did. We talked about that being one of those crossover songs, and that was another one. But I'm not going to dig into that one because I want to go kind of back to a group that was there at the same time as the Beach Boys with Jan and Dean, 1964, with the song "Little Old Lady from Pasadena."
Right.
The beach music, the two pretty Southern California boys, surfer music. Yeah, this was a very popular song, and it doesn't, tempo wise, I mean, it's not bad. It's got a little bit of it, but for the people who enjoyed that type of music, that surfing music, this was like a mainstay for that surfing music.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Then that was there were a lot of tunes like that, and I think I don't know. I don't think I put it in my list. Maybe I did. Like Wipeout by the Safaris would go in that set too.
For sure. Yeah, and actually, Brian, that was something that somebody in the chat had asked if we could maybe talk about a couple of songs or talk, how we would use that song in a set. As an example, some of them we talked about where we would use that to bridge to something. So if there's an instance where there's something that's a great bridge song, we'll try to mention that.
Okay, yeah, and there are lots of tunes like that, and I think a lot of times it's group active. For me, Wipeout's a group active song. It's not just a tune you play.
Yep.
People get, literally, I've done this, I've seen this, and it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it definitely happens. People will lay on the floor as a surfboard, and somebody else will get on top of them and surf on them.
Yep.
It's a contest they have. So it's like a group active song. It's not going to work for every crowd, but if your crowd wants to hear Wipeout, there you go. And a lot of times, those bridge tunes are kind of cool. Whatever you're using, if we find one here on the list, I'll say that's a bridge tune. Mm-hmm. And I got one coming up on the list real quick, actually, where you can definitely just throw it on. I like to do cold transitions sometimes when I'm going from, let's say I do a set of rock, and then I'll build it till it's peaked. And then instead of easing into something else, sometimes I just smack them over the head with something completely different. It wakes them up. Hey, what's this? And you get that new crowd. It's an old habit I learned from DJing in clubs where you fill the bar with people, you get in and they drink, then you get your dancers out there, you get them getting thirsty. You send them to the bar and bring your drinkers out to the dance floor, get them getting thirsty. It's those cold transitions like that you can do. And Wipeout, something like that. There's other tunes on the list as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm up next.
Yeah.
Next song. next song that I've got here is from Johnny Preston from 1959. I wanted to mention this one because I had this in my 60s set as one of my sing-along type songs. And this might be a regional thing because there's a comic duo, musicians, what have you, the Indian and the white guy, who are very big in the upper Midwest. And they brought Running Bear back because this is one of their little parts of their skit. This song in the probably mid-90s for about 15 years, anywhere we would go, we would play that. And it would be one of those when we would play, I mentioned it earlier, when Lion Sleeps Tonight, you'd play that and they would be requesting the second song. They were always like left and right for you. So I wanted to mention that in our 60s show.
I really like where that camera is. I hope it stays there.
Yeah, it looks good.
My engineer is off tonight, so I'm here doing all this stuff myself. I must apologize.
Oh, we're doing well. We're doing very, very well.
Okay, next up I have Fly Me to the Moon by Frank Sinatra, 1964.
Oh.
Now see, I'm going decade specific.
Yeah.
I'm not going era. I'm going decade. That's the tune. I think that was capital year stuff. And most of the popular Sinatra stuff, aside from things like Love and Marriage, are right in that capital years era. It was kind of like a comeback for him. He'd gone away with rock and rolling. He came back. Capitol did this whole thing with him. A lot of the tunes he didn't particularly like, but they work well. That's one of them. Get a Capitol years greatest hits of Sinatra. You're gonna thank me later.
Oh yeah, it's great
New York,
disc.
New York, and whatever. But and a lot of people do really well with. I'm trying to think of what the other one. I played a lot.
He's got a slow song in there.
Well, you
The Way You Look Tonight.
There you go. That's a big one for a lot of
huge,
people.
Yep.
For me, I do best with Fly Me to the Moon. If somebody says play a Sinatra song to dance to, that's the one I go to. So
yeah, and mine is The Way You Look Tonight was the one I would head off and get to.
Let me tell you what's so difficult about Frank Sinatra as a mobile DJ. Since we're talking about the guy, I don't dislike Frank Sinatra. He's not somebody I sit around and listen to in my free time, but I don't dislike him. What's interesting or what's kind of difficult about Sinatra, and I have to explain this to my clients, is a lot of people, they'll say, yeah, we're going to have our dinner, and for dinner, we would like to hear Frank Sinatra.
Right.
The problem with this is what we call crescendo, and that is when it gets really nice. Song. Then it screams like this. You're going to give grandma a heart attack with that crap.
Very much so.
And you got to be really careful with your volumes for dinner, too. So I try to discourage anybody from doing that Rat Pack thing for dinner because of that.
Yep.
But sometimes you just can't get around it. So be careful with that. Be careful with that. Bring your mids down if you have to.
That's a great advice because I've been there, done that. I had a event where they wanted all that type of, they wanted like the 20s and 30s and 40s and the crooner stuff. It's all like that.
Yeah, crescendo. And it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's very cool, but it gets quiet. Then it jumps out at you. And when you're 20 years old and you're into swing, that's cool. But when you're 85 and you're just trying to eat a salad and that happens, it could be dangerous. So I just try to explain it to my clients and discourage it whenever possible. So just a little editorial there for you on that one. And Fly Me to the Moon qualifies. It absolutely does. It's a perfect example. So
my next, let's see, I'm up next. Yes. Spencer Davis Group from 1966 with Gimme Some Lovin'.
Wow, that's a really good one. I haven't played it in a long time.
That one is one that's, I would put that as one of those surprise songs.
Yes.
Because it's one of those that people know, and they're like, oh yeah, that song.
Right. And I think a lot of that stuff got popular again, saw a resurgence, and what was it, 1983 with the Blues Brothers movie? Yeah. That era of music, the R&B blues influence stuff just hit hard. So.
And that actually leads into.
You want to play that version, and isn't that Steve Winwood singing on that? I think it is.
I think it might have been. Yeah.
So yeah, cool stuff. Good one, John. I like it.
Yeah. So what do you got next?
We talked about Surfin' USA, which was my next one up here. When a Man Loves a Woman, Percy Sledge, 1966 is the next one on my list.
That was actually I was getting close to that one on my list also.
Yes.
And I think someone has mentioned that in the chat. We've had that one mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah. Oh, sure. It's one to have. I mean, these are must-haves. That is a must-have.
Easily.
I couldn't tell you what other Percy Sledge song I would recommend you have, but that's one I would recommend that you have.
Yeah, I couldn't even right at the top of my head. I can't even imagine or think of what.
But that's the tune. Get that one.
Yeah.
That's going to go with so many different things. And that's 1966.
Let's see. I wanted to go to. Speaking of the Blues Brothers, this one was influenced by the Blues Brothers. I did not really have much request for this song until they came out with the Blues Brothers and they started utilizing it there, and then all of a sudden people were going back to the Sam and Dave version of Soul Man.
Yes,
it's like a resurgent for the older one.
They're almost interchangeable.
Very
you
much
can
so.
do either or. They're both good. Yep. They're both really good.
Yeah.
When did you start DJing, John? I'm just curious.
I started. I was doing some small things back in the early and mid '80s with doing some things at the school and such.
Okay.
And then my first paid one would have been 1985.
Right. Well, 84 for me. That's when I was doing skating rinks. 13 years old. That's.
So in our area, the Blues Brothers movie, they really didn't talk about it, or it wasn't in a lot of this area until. I mean, that came out early.
When that came out 82 or 83.
Yeah, and it was about the time, the mid 80s, when I was starting to do a few things here and there. That's when people were actually talking about it, and it took probably just took that long for the soundtrack to catch on.
81 maybe, I don't know what.
It was really early 80s. Yeah,
I know his last film was Continental Divide, and I think that might have been 82. So maybe it was 80, 81. I don't know, but yeah, right there. It was follow up to Animal House, I think, for Belushi. But okay, so I'm going to give you a little insight as to how twisted my life has been. Okay, so and I don't know if I've ever talked about this publicly. I am the youngest of 4, and it's not like I got a brother that's 2 years older than me. No, my youngest sister is 7 years older than I am.
Oh my!
And so I had 5 parents growing up. And I had a lot of different influences coming musically, whatever. They weren't all good, but I had a lot of them. Now, we moved to Wisconsin in 1983. And by the time we moved here, there were only 2 of us left in the house. My sister, who was 7 years older than myself, and myself. And my sister immediately went to college. And I immediately went to 6th grade. Okay, you follow me so far?
Yeah, yep.
It gets better. Okay, so I'm 12 years old. I'm in 6th grade. And my sister is experiencing her college life downtown in Milwaukee. And on the weekends, my parents thought it would be a great idea to expose me to the educational college experience by sending me to my sister's dorm on the weekends. Okay. All right. In downtown Milwaukee in the early 80s.
Okay.
This is going to be educational for me. And it certainly was.
Yes.
Now, this is Milwaukee. This isn't Omaha, Nebraska. This isn't Indianapolis. This is Milwaukee. This is Peru City. There was a bar in the dorm. They didn't card in this bar. There were dances constantly. In the commons area or the cafeteria area, the dormitory, which actually catered to a few different schools, would have dances down there. So I experienced mobile DJs for the first time here, and stuff like Soul Man was so big. And I just remember the reaction that these kids, they just went absolutely crazy.
Wow.
The other thing is that the Blues Brothers, actually part of it was shot in Milwaukee. There's an end scene where they're doing a freeway chase. It's in Chicago, but they actually shot that on the freeway 2 blocks from my house. So, and then long story short, sorry about that, but I just remember those songs being so huge. Those Blues Brothers, Gimme Some Lovin', Soul Man, even Rubber Biscuit. I mean, that kind of stuff they were just going nuts over.
Yeah.
All kind of the same vibe, I guess. Anyway.
Cool. Neat
Sorry
story.
about that, John.
No, neat story. Very, very neat.
Long story. I've got plenty of them like that. So it's my turn, I guess, after I just did this long speech.
Yeah.
Aretha Franklin's Respect, 1967. We talked about that one already. So I'll jump to my next one, which is actually a Motown song. and it wasn't on my radar for a long time. Now, it's another one of those tunes, John, that the intro is unfamiliar to a lot of people.
Okay.
As soon as they start singing, they're like, oh, and they come back on the dance floor and they lose it because most people forgot about it. That is Marvin Gaye and Tammi Terrell with Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Oh, yeah.
1967.
What a great building song to the refrain.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. And you can end a set there and you've satisfied everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really hard to top that tune once it gets going. It's a beautiful song. It's been remade. It was remade as more of a power ballad, if you will, by Diana Ross and a couple other people. But that's the version right there. That it's got just enough energy, and people sing it, and they get their hand high enough and low enough. It's group active. It's fun. People know it. So yeah, that's it right there. That's my tune. I love it. I play it whenever I get the chance, and it's not often, but I do play it.
Cool. Good song. Very, very good song. I'm going to go with the Beatles one next.
Sweet.
I've got a couple of different Beatles one, and I'm going to talk about the one from 1963 with I Saw Her Standing There.
Nice.
That's actually, there's obviously multiple Beatles songs. The two uncommon ones that one this is one I use an awful lot, and When I'm 64.
Wow, I've never used that.
I've used that one at, actually, ironically, many, many weddings. And it's been used in a different ways at different times, but when I have the crowd who knows that type of music, there have been times where I've sent that out as a tribute to the as a tribute to the bride or the groom, that they'll be again using it in a moment with the guest, but it's worked really, really well. But I Saw Her Standing There is one that is upbeat. It has the danceability, and of course, it was also redone a few years later. Probably 7-8 years later by Tommy James and the Shondells.
I think Steve Martin did that on the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band soundtrack. No, he did Fixing a Hole. I don't remember who did When I'm 64. Someone redid that song on that Bee Gees Sgt. Pepper album too, and it got a bit of a resurgence there as well.
Interesting. I've not. I remember that album, but I guess
a soundtrack album. Everybody bought it, so it wasn't like a single. But back then, when people would just buy albums and the entire thing, it turned out.
That's what we did.
I can't remember who did it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that because I remember that album now that you mention it. But I saw it in a collection. I don't think I ever actually.
Yeah, Steve Martin did Fixing a Hole. I don't remember. George Burns was on there. There was all kinds of weirdo. Earth, Wind and Fire did Got to Get You Into My Life on there, which was another Beatles remake. Because they were all Beatles remakes. But yeah. So before I get into my big ones here, and a lot of these we've already talked about because we've had some repeats. But what I thought would be nice to do is just talk about some tunes that I dig, and only because there's, of course, the mobile DJ plays music for the dance floor, but we're also playing background music sometimes. We're also doing things like car shows, or we're doing just kind of listening music maybe in a bar. They're not dancing, but they're enjoying the songs. And I, keep on saying this over and over again, I typically generally don't enjoy music that was done before I was born. I like the stuff that I'm real familiar with, from the time I can remember hearing it until now. But there are exceptions. So here are a few songs that I really love that aren't on my dance list, but it might not be a bad idea to have them, and I like them. So
yeah,
one of them, which if you've got that Motown crowd, it's a great one to have. If you don't have that Motown crowd, this is not the Motown song to play. Uptight by Stevie Wonder, 1966. I think that was his second hit. His first one was Fingertips, and he was like 14 years old when he did that one.
Yeah, that one.
But Uptight is a really cool song, but they've got to really like Motown to want to hear Uptight. But I personally love that tune. So that's one of the tunes that I got.
Interesting.
The other one, it's one of those songs I've known my whole life. It popped up, I think, 2 years ago in the movie Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And you may not get any requests for this ever. I just dig it. And that's Space Oddity by David Bowie. Love that tune. 1969. And if you're into Bowie at all, go on YouTube and see if you can find his A&R demo of that song from like 68. It's gorgeous. It's a acoustic guitar and a cello and two vocalists. It's so good. Anyway, I just like that. And we lost Bowie recently. And anyway, Now, here's something else I got to be real careful how I talk about this because it's really unpopular. So I got to word this carefully. I like the Beatles.
Yep.
But I like Beatles songs where I can tell whose song it really is.
Okay.
Like if it's just kind of collab, okay, it's Lennon McCartney. Okay, fine. That's fine. I prefer a song that I know is a John Lennon song, or I know is a Paul McCartney song, or I know is a Ringo Starr song, or George Harrison.
Yeah.
So Something is a George Harrison song, and it's from 1969, and it's a beautiful song.
It is.
And I do play this at weddings sometimes. I have had requests for it. I've had requests for this for First Dance of the Night or other dances. It's a cool tune. Beatles, you mentioned earlier, yeah, there are a couple Beatles songs on my list. There are a couple on your list. But let's be honest. Have a Beatles collection. You don't just want a few songs.
Yeah.
Get yourself a good Beatles collection. Beatles 1 is a CD that came out, I don't know, 10 years ago?
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
A little more?
Somewhere in that ballpark, yeah.
That's a good one to have. Just get that one. It was longer ago than that, I think. But get that one. That's a really good one to have. It's going to be pretty comprehensive. It's a good starting point. But you just have some Beatles, whatever it might be. And you might even hear something on there that you dig. And something else that happened in the 60s is the whole Summer of Love thing. Yep. 1967 with the Flower Child hippie thing, Haight Ashbury. They just kind of did a Summer of Love theme thing on the Super Bowl at halftime because it was in Frisco. And they're really proud of that up there. I mean, that's something that they still talk about. They still talk about the Dead and Jefferson Airplane and and hippies. And they're still kind of hippie progressive. And I don't know. I don't get up there much. It's been a while, but yeah, it's a cool place and they're still very much into that kind of stuff. But so the next song on there I want to talk about, because I do like some of that stuff, is Time of the Season by the Zombies.
Oh.
And that song is actually 68.
Yeah, that would be right at the end
of it. Goes on the same theme. I like the tune. I don't know why. I don't think anyone's ever asked for it to dance to.
No, but I do know it just because I have a parent that grew up in that. That was his influential type music.
It's a card show song. Is what it is. You know, you can play it for that, or if somebody just wants kind of a groovy cocktail hour, why not throw that on? It's cool. You know, there's nothing offensive about it. I guess that's, when you're doing weddings, sometimes you don't want to play tunes that are breakup songs no matter what. I mean, you do sometimes, but you don't want to. This is not a breakup song. It's kind of cool. It's different. And I think the recording of it's still pretty good. It holds up pretty well. So anyway, I just want to wrap up this list and now I promise I'll shut up. The next one, I will say this as well. I like the Doors. The Doors are cool. I enjoyed even when Val Kilmer did that movie in like 90 or whatever it was. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick a song here for my little short list, it's actually a Doors song, but it's not performed by the Doors. And I love this tune. If you've never heard it, I encourage you to just listen to it. It's gorgeous. A gentleman by the name of Jose Feliciano in 1968 did a version of Light My Fire acoustic guitar. Now, this guy is a New Yorican, so he's like a Puerto Rican dude living in New York. He's blind. He can't see a thing. He's still around. He still does things. But his version of Light My Fire, I prefer over the Doors version of Light My Fire.
Interesting.
It's absolutely beautiful. So that's Light My Fire, Jose Feliciano from 1968, a tune I love. And then we're getting to the Stones, because I don't have a lot of Stones on my list. But I love the Stones. But I'm more into 70s Stones.
Yep, as am I.
Okay, so you get it. So a lot of that stuff, you can dance to kind of whatever. But I love the Stones. So like Painted Black, I love that tune. Give Me Shelter, I love that song. Jumpin' Jack Flash, I like that one.
Somebody just mentioned that on our chat here.
Yeah. Sometimes Jumpin' Jack Flash can work. If people are into the Stones, you can definitely play it and they'll dance to it. So yeah, little Stones, considerable mention there. I'll do more Stones on our 70s show because there's some stuff there that works.
Yeah.
And the last one on my list is Incense and Peppermints by the Strawberry Alarm Clock, 1967. It's a groovy ass song. I don't know why I love it. I love that tune. It's cool. It's sexy. There's something about that's kind of hip.
Yeah. You just get some that just have that. Yeah.
So those are just a few considerable mentions. I mean, a lot of people they're into 60s music and they might be saying to themselves, well, why don't you have more Stones on your list? Or why don't you have more this or that on your list?
And that's what we're getting in our chat.
Right. But it's because it's dance floor stuff. This is not my favorite. These are not my favorite 60s songs by any stretch of the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
What I gave you as a short list are my favorite songs from the 60s. That kind of stuff I really, really like. This is just the dance stuff.
Yep.
So just so you understand, this is dance floor success stories is what we're talking about for the 1960s.
So now, after this, you're up to your number one song?
No.
Okay. You see, how many more do you have after?
10. Well, kind of. I mean,
okay. I'm just trying to.
I've got a lot of songs on here that you talked about too.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah, I'm just trying to pace what I've got here. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Pace it.
1965, the McCoys with "Hang On, Sloopy."
Oh, right.
A sing-along, I think, is the best way I would classify this one.
Yes.
This is it's one of those where the intro of it is such a unique intro that people from that era knew this was coming. They would know it right away, and then they would be able to, this is a great song, and their kids would be like, huh, what's this? I don't know.
Right.
But it was a really for a while. Now, would this be popular today with the right age group? Maybe. It would be somewhere between that. When I was talking about my categories, it'd be somewhere between the B and the C, somewhere in that ballpark.
Right. If they're really into the 60s, if they want to reminisce about the 60s, there you go.
And
crowd is.
And it also would depend if this is a song that it's a cover that a lot of small bands do.
Yeah.
Very popular cover.
So and that's a good point. So the band phenomenon's weird. I mean, I'll just touch on that for a minute since we're talking to mobile guys out there.
Yeah.
There are things that bands can get away with that we cannot. I don't know why.
Yes.
I don't know why, but I don't know if it's because people expect more from us. I don't know. But, Hang On Sloopy, a band could play this, a wedding band could play this, and the crowd might go absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
But if we drop it, it's like, huh?
Yeah, it's got to be placed and placed right.
I did it. I went to a wedding. I was a guest at a wedding. It was my stepdaughter's friend got married. And we went, and as a guest, and this is unusual for me, they had a band. And I think one of the first 3 songs that the band played was Hold the Line by Toto. I mean, I love the tune.
Uh-huh.
And I would have preferred to have heard Toto's version of the song, quite frankly. But they got a dance floor for it. I thought, what the hell? I could not do that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Okay, I'm coming in. We've done the first dance. No, let's listen to like a down-tempo rock tune from 1979. Let's do that. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
No. But a band could do it, and it's fine. If we do it, we're idiots.
Yeah. Man, I love this song.
Right. Just an observation since we're talking about the band thing.
Great. Okay, what do you have next?
Heatwave, Martha and the Vandellas.
Ooh.
And this was remade. I will tell you that I do really enjoy the feel and the spirit of this version of the song, which incidentally is 1963.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. But being a child of the 70s, the one I prefer is Linda Ronstadt's version, which you never hear anymore.
No.
I love the tune though. It's one of those songs that if I'm really depressed, I put on Heatwave, it's like I'm not depressed anymore. But I have headphones on because no one else wants to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
But once in a while, you can get away with playing this tune as a Motown song, once again, at a wedding reception or something like that. If they like Motown, if they're into that, Heatwave is a good one. So that's Martha and the Vandellas in 1960. What did I say? 63.
I'm going to stick with a female. I've got Mary Wells with My Guy from 1964.
Oh, that's a nice one.
It's a kind of a neat little song, and it's upbeat and such, where the gal is singing, talking about her guy. It had legs for a long, long time.
Right. Again, it came back in Sister Act.
Ah, there we go. So
they were doing My God, but it was,
That's right. Yeah, I didn't even. This is actually when it was really heavy in my rotation would have been prior to the.
Okay.
But it definitely had legs, and it was one of those, again, in the right crowd. This is a surprise me song right here.
Diana Ross remade that too in the 80s, early 80s, I think. She remade it, and it was a hit again. So
definitely some legs on that one.
I think you're right. The original is the way to go on that one.
Yeah.
Let's see. We talked about What a Wonderful World. We talked about Build Me Up, Buttercup. We have not talked about is the song that I play usually right before I play Build Me a Buttercup.
Okay, we're leading into it.
Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond, 1969.
How is that not on my list? A staple. We play this everywhere.
You probably thought it was 70s.
I bet it's on my 70s list. I bet
probably thought this was going to be like number one on my 70s list. No, that song is 1969.
Yeah,
and you can't lose. It's a sing-along. The hipsters dig it. The older folks dig it. The little kids dig it. It's kind of a joke. Sweet Caroline, you do like a fader like drop, and they all go bum, bum, bum. You bring it back up. So good, so good. Yeah, you can't lose with it. If you don't have it, I don't know. I don't know I can't help you.
Yeah, exactly. You need to turn in your mic or your headset right now.
Right. It's over. It's just over.
Oh.
I appreciate that you have several versions of DJ Snake's Turned Down for What, but I would trade one of those in for Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond. Not my favorite tune. I mean, and I like Neil Diamond, and I will admit that openly. In fact, one of my favorite films is The Jazz Singer, Neil Diamond version, and it was a terrible film, but I don't know why I love the movie. Like, not particularly fond of this song.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the Neil Diamond song to play.
Yeah.
I can't think of another song to play that Neil Diamond sings. I can think of another one he wrote, and we'll talk about that later on my list.
Cool. Did you hit the Trogs?
No.
Okay, 1966 Trog Wild Thing.
Nice.
Kind of a
nice tune.
A sing along. Really not too much of a dance, although people will dance like they're trying.
They'll jam to it. I think
it's kind of a jam. Yeah, they're kind of like stepping on bugs, snakes or something. As they're wild.
But it's
Ben
having the library.
Ben,
Summer of Love stuff. What year was that?
66.
All right, yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, and it's been used in movies and different places and ballparks. It's just all over and high recognition.
Staple. Good tune. All right, where are we here? Talk about Unchained Melody. Okay, we're going to go to 1962. A tune that I thought I was going to talk about last week, but when I started looking at years, I thought, no, this is a 60s song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really big one, and I play a lot. In fact, if anyone ever asks for this particular artist, this is kind of my go-to song in a mixed crowd because I know that it'll be fine.
Sure.
And that is I Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis Presley.
Oh, yes.
1962. It's a really good one to have, mobile guys. So if you don't know your Elvis, it's an Elvis slow tune. And what's cool about that is that you have a group of people where... See, that's the thing. A lot of the Elvis fans in the United States anyway are starting to age, and they're not going to want to go out and dance a lot.
Yep.
Pardon me, but you can still get away with those slow tunes. It's kind of like country music in that regard.
Yep.
If I've got a crowd where they dig country, but they're not dancers, they want to hear it, I can do country slow, and everybody kind of joins in. I can do the crossover stuff. This is where this song lands. It's 50s, 60s, like we talked about the one word, 50, 60.
Yep, exactly.
The 4-syllable word. It's Elvis, and it's a ballad. So it's a hard one to lose with, and it's very popular. Everyone knows it. And sometimes people are like, oh yeah, they've kind of forgotten about it. They don't expect me to play it for some reason, but yeah, good tune.
Mm-hmm. Very, very, very good tune. Did we talk about Otis Redding?
No.
Okay, one of the songs from '67, Otis Redding sitting on a dock of the bay.
And you can do that as a chill song.
This is kind of more of a chill song, but this is one, as we were talking earlier, local bands made this song, put this song on a playlist in our area.
Sure, yeah.
Because a band can play this, and people just loved it. So it became, in our arena, it became a belly rubbing song at weddings. Yes. And it's a little fast for that, but it became something that bands brought into.
I've done it like that before too. I've done it like that as well.
Yeah, so that was kind of an oddity that you really wouldn't put there, but yet, oh goodness, the response has been, that was a big response with that one.
So my next one here is Twist and Shout by the Beatles.
Yeah, we're getting up to that one on my list also.
This is the version to play. I mean, and I don't even consider it's not a Beatles song. I don't think. Maybe it is. I don't think they wrote it. I think it was done before they did it. I don't know. It was remade afterward by several people. Obviously, got really popular in the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Very much so.
Your next people, you can't lose. And in fact, I spin that after I spin the twist, so it's like a twist set. So what I do, just as a set early on, I'll do the twist and shout. So they always work together.
So
it's a progression.
It's a progression. I mean, it's a visual progression. It's an auditory.
Yeah, it's what do I want to say? It's a grammar progression. It's all those things. So yeah, great tune to have.
I've got a few here that are just some odds and ends. I'm going to list off a couple of these here, and then we'll wrap up with your list here.
Okay, cool.
A couple of them from Bobby Freeman from 1962 with "Do You Want to Dance" is getting kind of in that B range for me, but it is kind of an upbeat song. It's got kind of a neat. It's been used in a couple of movies since that time, but it's just kind of a fun when you're needing to have an extra upbeat 50s, 60s song. It definitely fits that. Going to the Chapel from the Dixie Cups. Another one that gets used, and most often it's used in times at the wedding, maybe where they're going to cut the cake or they're going to do something, whatever. It's used in that arena.
I've had it requested during the ceremony for the processional.
Yep, exactly. So it's definitely one that a person has to have.
Own it.
And the last one, the Shangri-Las with "Leader of the Pack."
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It's interesting. It really does. It's more of a story song, I think, is a way, but it just, for some reason, it was kind of a song that connected with a lot of people in this vicinity. So
that tune reminds me of Meatloaf before Meatloaf. Yeah. If that makes sense to you.
I could see that.
It's a theatrical thing. Mm-hmm. And Meatloaf did that too. They were story songs, and they were big and
and this is definitely a story song.
Yeah.
Well,
I've got a couple on my list. I want two.
Yeah, let's run through them.
Okay, this song, and I got to give my daughter props for this, because it was kind of on my radar a little bit for mobile, but not for the right reasons. Popped up in Shrek, but I didn't like the version at all. I'm not a Smash Mouth fan myself, and it was so close to the original version, it was stupid to play the Smash Mouth version.
Yeah.
Neil Diamond wrote it, I Believer by the Monkees.
Yeah.
This song is something that I didn't play. No one was asking for it, and to this day, no one says, "Hey, can you play I'm a Believer by the Monkees?"
But they go crazy for it.
But when you're in that place, and you know when you're in that place, it's 60s, 70s stuff. That is a great tune to drop.
Oh,
it's very happy. It's very upbeat. Mickey Dolenz' vocals are great on that.
Mm-hmm.
The progression's danceable. It's a fantastic rock and roll song to play that everybody knows. My 18-year-old daughter loves this song, and she loves the Monkees, and she's seen them in concert, several times.
And Mickey doesn't sound like he did.
Davy Jones' performance, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
She was there. I mean, and she's been a fan since she was a little kid, and I didn't do that. She did that on her own, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, very cool.
That is a tune that I don't know if it's on anybody's radar out there, but own it. Good quality version, good recording of it. And when you're in that set, when you're in that vibe, try it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yep, good track.
And that's from 1966. And my number one song. And this one is the number 160 song. I cannot believe, Mr. John Young, I cannot believe this was on your list. You're going to just hate yourself and say, "Oh my God, why did I think of it?" Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl from 1967.
I
told you.
I bet a nickel that must be my 70s, my old 70s set. But yeah, 67.
1967. Brown Eyed Girl, Van Morrison. This is a weirdo song, and let me explain. If you listen to the words of this song, it's about an older guy. Older, I say older, I mean not a child.
Yep.
an adult who gets a minor pregnant and just out of fling, and then comes back a few months later and realizes that she's pregnant and she has brown eyes. Yeah, I know. And it was originally called Brown Skin Girl, by the way.
Oh my.
It was, yeah, it was originally, that was the title of the song. And the record company was like, dude, this is 1967 or whatever.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. So they changed it to Brown Eyed Girl. And this has become like the father-daughter dance song, which to me is kind of twisted. But it has. Oh, she's my brown eyed girl. It's like, oh, please say it ain't so. This is your daughter. But this is like, you know, this is a big tune. You're going to play it, whether or not it's the father-daughter song, you're going to play it as in a 60s set. People are going to respond to it. It kind of goes along the same lines as Sweet Caroline. You can do it in that same, you know, that same 15 minutes. You can make that song happen. You can come out of the foundations into that, or you can open your set with that, or whatever you want to do. So, yeah, that's my number one on my list. Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl. Considerable mentions for Van Morrison, some of them maybe 70s. Moondance, Have I Told You Lately? Yeah.
But nothing at the level of what that song is requested.
No.
When you play Brown Eyed Girl, and this has happened to me dozens of times over the years, so you're playing Brown Eyed Girl in a set, and it's the first, you know, getting into that's the first dance. What song is probably the most requested song while you're playing Brown Eyed Girl? Have you experienced? Or have you experienced?
You know, my dance floor is so full during Brown Eyed Girl, no one's asking for anything.
I've had, it's like when I play either Cecilia, I'll have people coming up and requesting Brown Eyed Girl, or if I'm playing Brown Eyed Girl, those two, it's like, I don't know if that's, you know, they obviously they go together fairly well, but
yeah,
the number of times over the career, if somebody's coming up, you know, that they're out on the floor and they're over there and they're like, hey, can you play this? Yeah, I could just about tell you what song's coming to your mind right now.
Now, if you do that, we're talking about that bridge that you were talking about earlier. We're going from the late 60s to the early 70s with that bridge. Mm-hmm. And you can play with that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and you're coming out of Cecilia, and you can go into a lot of different areas with that, because there's a little bit of a beat to it, but it's not a super fast beat, so you can actually go into something that's more upbeat and kind of match it and not have this weird gyrating thing going on your floor.
What year was that? 73?
70? I thought it was 71 or something.
Maybe it is.
Yeah, it was early, very early 70s.
And Simon and Garfunkel did not last long. It really didn't. I mean, they were there for a minute, and then it was just Paul Simon.
Yeah, exactly. They made a few.
And what Art Garfunkel did, like one tune, I don't know, that gets some play.
And that was about it.
Yeah. I had a thought on that, and it just disappeared.
Somebody mentioned Runaround Sue in the chat board, which was Runaround Sue was on my list of some of the songs from 1961. A great song. I used to play it all the time at the weddings until I started, as Brian, you were just talking about, you start listening to what the song is about, and it's like, it's such a good song as far as the dance. I mean, if you're coming out of a slow song and then it starts out, here's my story, sad, you know, and it's just, it can continue, and then, hey, then, it's such a great transition song from a slow set. And then it's like, but wait, the message. But then again, I think about Cecilia and what we're doing up in the bedroom with Cecilia, and then I play Runaround Sue.
Well, what I cannot do, or what I try not to do, is be the moral police at my wedding receptions when it comes to this stuff. I try really hard not to do it. But I do think about what you're talking about when people start talking about, you know, oh, I like the song because I like the message in it or whatever. If it's because they like the beat, that's one thing. But if they like the message and the message is actually misguided, that's when I get creeped out. I don't care what they do, but it just creeps me out as one who knows. I feel like Neo in the Matrix. I know things that no one else knows. And you know, that's what stuff like that pops up.
Exactly.
Only as a mobile DJ, I got to ask you this, because I did. You and your wife have worked this together for years.
Yeah.
Haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you probably worked with friends on this as well, you know, throughout your career. there was a time, and I don't do it much anymore, and I miss it, when I was used to work with somebody where I'd make up my own lyrics to songs and sing them.
Oh yes.
The microphone off. Did you do that too?
Oh yes, yes. We actually recorded many of those. We've got a we did some of those, and this is back in when just before Weird Al started to come onto the scene, and oh yeah, we put we had Achy Breaky Heart was Captain Crunch. That you just couldn't touch the effing Captain Crunch, and I mean they were not PG anything.
No, my songs were definitely like Celebration was masturbation, for instance.
Exactly,
but they were good. They were good, and you had weeks and weeks to cultivate them.
Oh yeah, and we'd go to the bars, and we were doing these right as we started the DJing in the bars. So we'd go there and we'd drop it one week, and then the next weeks we'd have people. Can you guys play? Raspberry Kool-Aid was one for raspberry. It was raspberry Kool-Aid, the kind you buy at the Super One store.
Right.
And we had the biggest hit though that we did was When Gulls Crap instead of When Doves Cry, because our guy would get and he would do the gull thing, and we've got it on video, and it's hilarious.
It was almost something you could do just to keep the monotony from driving you crazy.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You're asking for the same thing every week. So yeah,
yep.
When you
oh, the days.
You can't touch this. Don't touch that. You don't know where it's been. Don't touch that. So yeah, fun stuff. Just reminded me when you said that.
Good memories. Good stuff.
But that's pretty much my 60s stuff.
Yeah.
There's more stuff I do like, and I absolutely 100% understand that if you live on the West Coast, the East Coast, if you're in the city of Detroit, if you're in Philadelphia, if you're in London or in Leeds or wherever you are, or Sydney, Australia, your list is going to be different. I totally understand that. This is just regional for us. And like I mentioned last week, I think the most interesting part about these lists are things that are going to be universal.
Yeah.
You're going to say, that guy lives on the other side of the world, and he's also playing. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. There are a lot of tracks that are like that. They're just universal wherever you go.
Yeah.
And it's hard for us to know what they really are because we're not where you are, but you'll know better than we will.
Oh, for sure. This is just kind of what's worked for us. And as we've talked about, some things worked 20 years ago that probably don't work today, but it's something worth mentioning.
A lot of stuff happened in the 60s, a lot of changes in music, a lot of bridges into the 70s with music, especially with the singer-songwriter thing. Is that our next week's?
I think so. I think we're going to get into the 70s now, and we'll have to talk about this off air. I don't know how we're going to handle that, if we're going to break it up into really focusing.
I think what we did this week was pretty cool. I mean, I liked it. Let's just encompass it all and go for it.
Just go for it and make our list and just talk. Yeah. I think that works really, really quite well. And
next week, hopefully, I won't have 31 really long Windows updates right when I'm trying.
That's crazy.
Take a half hour, 45 minutes to do before I'm time to go on.
Oh, well, that's good. We got through our list and
apologize profusely. I think I like how we did it. Let's just creme de la creme. Let's go decade by decade.
Perfect.
The other songs. But the 70s, this is where I start to get geeky.
Exactly. This is where we really,
This is where, this is one of my favorite decades in music. I cut my teeth here. I think some of the best music ever was produced in the 70s. And it's, a lot of my favorite 70s songs are songs I never play, for the mobile DJ crowd. But some of them I do. So.
I think our list of what we like but wouldn't play would be huge for this. It would way outdistance our what we actually play. So we're going to have our money songs. We'll be talking about the songs that make us money because we play it. We'll talk about some of those that are going to be kind of the surprise songs, which is what I really love the 70s for, is the surprise. And then some of our personal favorites. So it's going to be a fun show. I'm really excited about doing that.
I am too, and I don't mind going long on these. These are fun. This is fun. Just so everybody knows, this is really fun for me. I love doing this with John. And I think that it's about time. There's been a lot of talk about a lot of things over social media, YouTube, whatever. But music is something we talk about least, and that is so weird to me.
Yeah, exactly. Something we need. But that's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Brian, and we'll be back next Tuesday night, 9:00 Central Time. do it once again.
Thank you very much, John. Thanks for having me once again.
Yeah.
Looking forward to next week.
For all those of you who've been watching, thank you very much for being with us. If you've got some songs and such that we didn't cover, please put those down in the comments area down below, because there's a lot of great songs that made the comments that we didn't get to. Share those down in the comments. We're going to put our music list into that description area tomorrow, probably, because I don't think we'll get it yet tonight. But share those, because this is, again, us learning from you, you learning from us, and just getting confused all the way around.
Let us know how you like the show too.
Yeah, please,
Let
yes.
us know.
Give us feedback, and if you like what we're doing here, please share it. Let other people know, because that tells us, that we're doing, and we're kind of on the right course for what you guys.
If you hate it, send it to us in a private message. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you hate it, you can call my mom. She'll take care of that.
Great. No, I want to know.
Yeah.
Constructive criticism is where it's at. I'm excited about this. I want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And for me, I learn by doing, so I make my mistakes, as I'm doing. And
exactly. And it's nice because it brings songs back into our playlist, because I found a couple of things that I was from our last week's discussion that it's like, oh yeah, I want to make sure I have this when I'm doing my wedding in a couple of weeks here.
No, I'm not kidding you, John. I could name 1,070 songs, and I'm not exaggerating. 1,070 songs that I really love.
Yeah.
I would never played a gig. So this is going to be so hard for me.
It'll be a fun night. I'm looking forward to it. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John Young with the Disc Jockey News and Disc Jockey News TV, and the one and only Brian Red. Thanks for watching. Good night.